This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the Samsung ATIV Book 5. As you might guess from the numbering system, this is sort of their mid-range Ultrabook, but you still get some classy features like aluminum lid, aluminum deck, nice pretty mineral ash black finish just like you'd see on the Series 9 or now the ATIV Book 9. Good number of ports, 14-inch display. We're going to look at it now. So this is the Samsung ATIV Book 5. Much like the Series 5, Samsung has just changed the naming convention. They've changed it from Series whatever to ATIV Book whatever. So in this case, we have the ATIV Book 5. Same thing goes with the Samsung Series 7 Ultra, which is now the Samsung ATIV Book 7. The Series 9 is now the ATIV Book 9. You get the idea. Anyway, really lovely laptop. Who is it for? Let's start with that right away. This is for somebody who's looking for a more stylish than average Ultrabook, but doesn't want to go for the top-of-the-line model and spend $1,000 to $1,500 on an Ultrabook either. The machine is, in fact, very stylish looking. I think it's quite attractive. It's sort of somewhere in between the ATIV Book 7 and ATIV Book 9 in terms of styling, even though it is a lower-end model than both of those. But you get the mineral ash black finish, and this is aluminum right here, so you get metal on this lid, you get metal on the top lid, matte. It shows fingerprints a bit, but not too much, or it's brushed metal, I should say. Not exactly matte, certainly not gloss either. Good looking. It doesn't have the Series 9 kind of tapered insides, a little bit more like the Series 7 Ultra there, but all in all, a thin and reasonably light Ultrabook. It's 4.4 pounds. It's not the lightest of 14-inch Ultrabooks, but it's right around there. 4.2 is about the average poundage for a 14-inch Ultrabook. As you can see, you get a good number of ports right here. We have our Ethernet port, the little drop down for it right there. That's the teeny-weeny little barrel pin hole for the charger. Same Samsung charger they always use, very compact, small, and teeny little pin that plugs in. Full-size HDMI, a USB 3.0 port, our combo audio jack, and this is a mini VGA port that requires an optional dongle that's not included. Kind of cheeseball there, Samsung. Include that adapter, why don't you, if you're going with something kind of proprietary. And if we look on this side, we have our SD card slot. We have two USB 2.0 ports, and there's our Kensington lock slot. The bottom is plastic, unlike the lid and the keyboard deck, but then again, how much time do you spend looking at the bottom? That's not the end of the world there. We can see our speaker grills right here, JBL Audio, nice sounding speakers. And this little door with the single Phillips head screw to remove it here is where your two RAM slots are. So it's nice that it's easily accessible. It's not like the average Ultrabook where God knows they try to keep you out of it for upgrades. This one, it's easy enough to get in there. Two RAM slots, DDR3 RAM. Inside we have Intel Ivy Bridge 3rd generation CPUs. Samsung still hasn't revved this up to Haswell. Now for those of you who've been watching our Ultrabook video reviews, you know that really Haswell doesn't bring a whole lot of performance to the table. What it is bringing is better battery life. In the case of our friend the ATIV Book 5 here, it already has quite good battery life, 6.5, even 7 hours if you're pretty conservative with your power management. So, you know, gosh, that's pretty good battery life there. It's not like it's begging for lots of improvement there. As you'd expect from a machine that costs at $8.99, maybe $8.49 if you're lucky if it's on sale somewhere, you get some nice design elements here. You see the curving here and the sculpting, the bevel, that kind of stuff. A little bit more interesting, not just a blocky, boring looking machine. So it certainly has a good sense of style. The hinge is very strong and robust. And just a clean design back here as well. It's not a flashy looking machine, but I think it has an understated sort of elegance. Pretty stiff display. When you lift it up, what do you get to see? A 14-inch LED touchscreen, and it is not among the brightest or the nicest. This is going to be the sore point for this guy. 1366 by 768 resolution. Something has to give if this is going to be less than $1,000. So I don't expect that it's going to have full HD resolution, certainly, but I really wanted to see a better quality panel on this. This is about the same quality as a Lenovo IdeaPad U310 Touch, which is only around $550. And likewise for Asus Ultrabooks, and you're looking at around the 500s when you're getting this kind of display quality. There's just not much contrast here. Color saturation, not so great either, around 54% of sRGB color gamut, so not too great there. Brightness also kind of low at 140 nits. And that's harder, of course, because it is a multi-touch touchscreen, so it's got a glossy finish on it, so that tends to create glare. You really like to have a little brightness to kind of combat that, but I could live with the dimness if you're going to be using this indoors in the office or at home where you don't have a lot of bright direct light, but the lack of contrast just makes it look a little murky and means text is not the sharpest thing in the world to read. On a positive note, if we take a look at the keyboard deck, and notice the display goes all the way back. You're doing a Lenovo on us, or also Acer has been doing that lately. You've got a very nice keyboard here, typical kind of Samsung keyboard, not huge on the key travel, but not bad either. More travel than you're going to get on the Series 9 or ATIV 9 as it's now called, because this is not quite as thin. They have more room for the keys to travel. It has 3-stage backlighting, and you've got control buttons right up here for that. Likewise, the brightness controls are over here, and this does not have an ambient light sensor for auto brightness on the display, so that's not the culprit for our dim display. Likewise, I've also checked the power saving plan settings for Intel HD 4000 graphics, and I have disabled any sort of power management for the display. It's still kind of dim. But back to the keyboard. Normal layout, full size. We've got our arrow pads right here, and we have a large lawn trackpad. Samsung always has the best trackpads. It's just a pleasure to use. Just ever so slightly a matte finish, but it's so responsive to multi-touch, to single touch, no misbehaving whatsoever. It's just about the best thing you can get, short of a Mac, in terms of the trackpad. Take a look at the side. You can see the key relief here. Again, reasonably good, no complaints about that. Is Lenovo IdeaPad U310 maybe a little bit better? Well, you know, Lenovo makes some of the best keyboards in the business, but that's also a matter of personal preference. Some people like those big smile-shaped keys. Some folks like this kind of layout better. It's up to you. I do like the drop down to the trackpad here and the little chrome ring. It helps you realize when your finger has wandered off the trackpad, too. Good tactile feedback. As you can see on the deck right here, we have our little JBL indicator, and Samsung's been doing that with their laptops lately, and they've had great audio. This is no exception. It sounds louder and fuller than average. Very pleasing audio. Indicator lights for your caps lock, power, all that kind of thing there. And then on the other side, we have the nifty recessed power button that just looks kind of classy and cool. And now here's our backlit keyboard in the dark. It's at the brightest setting right now. We'll cycle through our settings. Oh, it just timed out. Now we're down a notch. That's the dimmest. There we go. Pretty good backlighting, not much bleed. That's very good. And also, I want to comment on the display. Much as I picked on it, here we are in an almost dark room. This is where the display literally really shines. Colors and contrast look so much better. So if you're camped out in the living room at night with the lights off or just a little bit of light on, it's going to look much nicer then. And now we'll compare it to the Samsung ATIV 9 Lite. This is the budget version of the 9 series, and you can see this has a very shiny lid. So I honestly think the Series 5 looks a little bit classy. I think somebody from the Samsung Galaxy group got let loose in the notebook department and said, let's put glossy plastic on this thing. And you can see we have a little bit of the teardrop kind of shape finish that's traditional Samsung. That's something you won't see on the Series 5. That's more of a cosmetic thing than anything else, but you get the idea. This guy's 13.3 inches, and we'll be doing a review of this soon. They are priced a little similarly. This guy is a little bit less expensive, actually, than 9 Lite, but it's also a slower machine. And here we have it next to the Lenovo U310 Touch, so you get the idea. Again, Lenovo is kind of eating Samsung's lunch for the kind of mid-rangey laptop right here. Samsung makes awesome higher-end machines. $1,000 plus machines are really sweet. Mid-range, I feel like they haven't quite got the value equation right. Lenovo also made of metal, also very stylish, good build quality. This is the 13.3-inch model since it's the U310. Similarly murky display as well. But actually it's a bit better than the Samsung display. Ow, that kind of hurts. And you can see the difference in the keyboards right here too. I think most people would probably prefer this keyboard, the Lenovo keyboard, because they're awfully good at those keyboards, aren't they? Not that the one on the Samsung is terrible. The Samsung ATIV 5 has the Intel Core i5-3337U. That's 1.8 gigahertz with turbo boost to 2.8 gigahertz. Your standard fare for an Ultrabook running a third generation CPU. As I said, I'm not going to complain too much about that because performance-wise it doesn't make much of a difference. Intel HD 4000 integrated graphics. There is no dedicated graphics option with this machine. Ours has 4 gigs of RAM. Obviously, there are 2 RAM slots. You can upgrade that to 8 gigs if you want, or you can go all the way up to 16 gigs. It's DDR3, 1600 megahertz RAM. And it has a 500 gig spinning conventional 5400 RPM hard drive in there. No great shakes, but it does have a 24 gig caching SSD. That's not for you to store stuff on. That's there to speed up Windows boot times, application load times, give it a little bit of a performance edge so it doesn't feel so slow. And as you can see for our Windows experience here, calculations per second or processor 6.9. That's pretty much what you usually see for this CPU. RAM is 5.9. Since we only have one RAM module in here, it's running in single channel mode. If you put in a second RAM module, that would go up a little bit along with your desktop graphics, since desktop graphics is sharing the RAM. So we have 4.8 for our desktop graphics, 6.3 for 3D, and 5.9 for the hard drive. For PC Mark 7, it scored 2612, not the 4600 to 5000 we see on SSD-based Ultrabooks. That's because PC Mark 7 loves SSD drives and really weights heavily in favor of SSD drives. It doesn't mean this one is any computationally slower than any other Core i5 Ultrabook on the market currently. W prime, 26.3 seconds to compute pi. That's pretty much standard again for the average. Geekbench 3, it scored 4655. Viewing angles are not too terribly wide. I know we keep picking on the display, but that's because it deserves to be picked on some. As you can see, besides glare being an issue, it pretty much is disappearing. Well, the good part is this is great for privacy. If you're doing things you shouldn't be doing in class, or you're on an airplane and you don't want people looking at your screen, they won't have the easiest time seeing it. And as we rotate back, mostly it's picking up glare, more glare, more glare, my face, oh glare. And then there we are, head on. You're going to want to use this head on. You're going to angle it forward and back till you find the sweet spot where colors and contrast are the best. And now that I picked on it, let's take a look at how a web page looks. And you can see it's bearable. It's not that bad. So here we are looking at our homepage mobile tech review in the Metro IE10 web browser. And it's not too bad. Again, I wish it was brighter, but text is indeed readable. And let's check out a video and see how it looks. We'll look at our video of the Nokia Lumia 925 Windows phone. And you'll get to hear the speakers too. And our volume is currently set to 66%. Bring it up to 720p to match the display resolution and full screen it. This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the Nokia Lumia 925 available on T-Mobile in the United States. Finally, a high-end Windows phone available on T-Mobile. This is very nice and in a lot of ways quite similar to the Nokia Lumia 920 in terms of its specs, but it's slimmed down, it's got a little metal edging, and we're going to look at it now. So this is the Nokia. So there you go, pretty good quality, a little bit more full than average in terms of audio, and well, video quality is what it is. Thanks to the display, it's just okay. In terms of wireless, there's good news and there's bad news. I'll hit you with the good news first. We have wired Ethernet. That's nice to see. A lot of Ultrabooks don't have that. Sometimes even up to 14 inches you won't see wired Ethernet. That's still very useful for business travelers particularly, and probably some of you at university where you have Ethernet jacks. Bluetooth 4.0 on board, also Qualcomm Atheros. The bad news is it has Qualcomm Atheros Wi-Fi. That in and of itself is not a bad thing, but it's 2.4 gigahertz only, single band Wi-Fi. This is a mistake that Lenovo keeps making on their IdeaPads, but happily they're starting to go with dual band. And I think for a machine that costs $899, you should have dual band 300 megabit per second Wi-Fi instead of 150 megabit per second single band Wi-Fi. That said, Wi-Fi has behaved just fine for us. No problem with dropouts or connection issues whatsoever on our 802.11n network, obviously on the 2.4 gigahertz band. Because it's 2.4 gigahertz, it can interfere with Bluetooth, which also runs on 2.4 gigahertz. So keep that in mind. If you're using this with a Bluetooth mouse and either your Bluetooth mouse gets jumpy or your Wi-Fi gets wonky, it's probably they're interfering with each other. Machine comes with, like I said, Samsung's usual incredibly compact and light adapter, so this is not going to weigh you down much at all. And the usual tiny pin connector, easier to insert than it is on the ATIV Book 7, which was a devil to try to get inserted all the way. I know this looks kind of small and thin, but I have not had any problems with durability on Samsung's chargers whatsoever. So the ATIV Book 5 is really a stylish looking, suitable for an executive kind of laptop, a little bit bigger at 14 inches, but really not much of a difference in footprint size between this and most 13.3-inch Ultrabooks, the same size as a Lenovo U310 Touch, for example. There's a lot of competition in this space, and once you're getting up to $899, you're bumping into the $1,000 Ultrabooks, and I think the biggest threat to this machine right here is Samsung's own ATIV Book 7, formerly known as the Series 7 Ultra, that we reviewed and liked an awful lot. For only $100 more, it's $999 at Best Buy, you get all aluminum all around, and you get SSD for main storage, solid state. You still get a good helping of ports as well, and you get a full HD, really stunning, nice, color-saturated display. So, there you have it. For $100 more, I say get the ATIV Book 7 if you can afford it at all or find it where you're at. That said, you know, it is on sale for $850 at a couple of places like Microsoft Store right now, and $150 is $150. If your budget's really tight, but you're dying for something styling, you really like Samsung's Ultrabooks, but the expensive ones are just beyond your budget, it's not a bad machine. Awesome styling, very nice keyboard with backlighting, and that is a premium feature, like that a lot. So that's the Samsung ATIV Book 5. It's available now, again, around $899 for the price. You might find it for a little bit more, and that's less than the list price. Happily, you don't have to pay list price. Not a bad mid-range Ultrabook, but like I said, held back by display quality. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website for the full review of the ATIV Book 5, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.